So I scaled 4 coaching programs in a row to prove it's not luck. Now I've scaled way more than 4, but these are kind of the main 4, like the first kind of 4 that I've done. And I'm just gonna kind of talk about all of them today and to prove, I guess, it's not luck. And anyways, here's the first one. This was the first ever offer I actually helped out, right? And overall, we probably made it more than this, but around $61,543. Made it on the school games leaderboard. And yeah, I'm gonna go through everything here. So essentially the context, right? I'm not gonna like just name drop the like our clients anymore. I just don't really feel like doing that. But essentially this guy was a spirituality creator. More like spirituality slash self-improvement. It's a very interesting niche, right? So it's not the typical, make money drop shipping or anything like that. But it was a spirituality niche, and the main guy with this right now is he had this low ticket school community. Where did I put it? Okay. Oh, there it is. Yes, sir. We have the school hat and everything. Right? I'm not a big school guy, but essentially at a low ticket school community that was making around 3K a month, I want to say. And it was just not really, he wasn't really doing anything with it. So hit him up and was going to help him out with it. So, yeah. And essentially what we did was the first step in everything always is understanding the audience. So we really understood them. It was cooked audience, bro. Like people were like kind of hood a little bit, and not as bad as the next offer I'm gonna break down, but it was really just self improvement offer. So what we went ahead and did was we took out all the links to induce scarcity, right? So essentially what we did was we made it so nobody could join for a couple weeks, so that way we could actually relaunch this offer, right? Which induced a massive amount of scarcity because since people couldn't join it, it was actually kind of crazy. They were freaking out. Like people were DMing him like, yo, 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 how do I join? How do I join? How do I join? People were looking for the links, going through all of his story highlights and everything just because they couldn't actually join. And it was actually kind of funny, but it's just human psychology. That's hot. Right, but that's what we did. And in the meantime, we did market research. We revamped the offer because he was trying to teach them like content creation. So the audience itself, it didn't have product market fit. What product market fit is, let me draw it out. Whew. Is essentially your offer matches what your audience actually wants, which is why I so heavily preach doing market research and understanding your audience on a deep psychological level, because if you're selling them something that they don't want, they're just not going to buy. So before he was trying to teach people how to make money with content creation because he thought that nobody would pay to learn self-improvement, right? That couldn't really be further from the truth because that's what they wanted to learn was self-improvement, right? And they really trusted him because he also had a YouTube as well. He'd been posting for a while, like a couple of years. So people really trusted this guy. You might know who he is, you might not, but I'm not going to say. And yeah, so we switched his offer from focusing on content creation to actually self-improvement, right? So then we start hyping it up. After we understand the audience, we revamp the offer on his Instagram stories, right? We start hyping it up, just a simple whisper tee shout like Alex Hormozy preaches, just kind of talking about what we've been doing inside the school, showing some recent wins, getting people very excited to join, right? And then we set a launch day, we hype it up even more, and then we actually launch on that day. And here's the exact funnel that we ran, because before what he was doing was he just had like a link, he had a link tree, which if you know me, you know link trees are just stupid, in my opinion. They're not going, because people are just confused. There's like 50 million things. So we got rid of the link tree. Well, we didn't get rid of it. We just had a DM CTA. So we ran everything through the Instagram DMs, right? So essentially, here's the exact funnel that we ran that, made us this amount of money and almost won us the school games. We went from, Instagram DMs, they'd DM us a keyword, and essentially we'd send them an anti-VSL. Now, what an anti-VSL is, you're probably wondering. It's essentially a very raw VSL, typically on a Google Doc. It's recorded via Loom. It's supposed to be very raw and like an anti-salesy. And essentially all it does is tells the creator story, make them relate with pain points, sell them on our offer. Right? And that's exactly what we did. And people after watching, they'd be like, dang, bro, I super resonated with you. I like everything you said in that VSL, bro, I felt. And that was just because we understood the audience from doing that market research, right? These amazing drawings. But after that, what we would do, they would DM us the word I'm in after they watched. And that's huge because it's essentially them opting in, right? So essentially, instead of having like a page or whatever, we just ran it through the DMs, which it was also more personable because they were actually, thought that they were messaging the creator. And they'd be like, I'm in. And then we tell them, all right, bet we only have like X amount of spots left. So we said that we only had like 20 spots this week in the VSL. And whenever they would DM us, we said that we only had 5 spots left. So we had urgency and scarcity, right? And then we'd say, like, why should we let you have one? And then the people that would sell themselves, we'd be like, all right, bet here's the link to join. And then we would drop a 297 link on them, right? Just for simple access to the school community for lifetime access, right? So it's a very sexy offer. And then it would go one of 3 ways. Either that they would just join, which means we made bread. They would just ghost us completely. Or we'd follow up on them and they'd be like, yo, I don't have the money to join right now. In that case, we would just downsell them to $47 a month, I mean. So yeah, sometimes people would just not respond, but a lot of the times they would just be open and honest with them just because they really like the creator. But sometimes, they just said, yo, I can't even afford that, right? Which if they couldn't, there's nothing we can do about it. So it is what it is. Some people were, I guess, just like that down bad, which, hey, I'm not hating, I respect it. This is supposed to be a ghost. But yeah. And also what we were doing on the stories is we were like leveraging more social proof via marketing and urgency. We were just showing all the people that were joining. We're like, yo guys, we're getting so many DMs, we might have to close it down soon, blah, blah, blah. And really just hyping it up, getting people super excited, getting people super hype. And yeah, with this creator, like I know, or with this client, we could have absolutely ripped with high ticket, but it was my first ever offer. Didn't really know what I was doing. And also, they didn't really want to run high ticket. They wanted to be free. And they started like doing music, trading options and stuff. So it's whatever. But like what I kind of learned from this was like high ticket is definitely the move because out of all these people, right? We added $10,000 MRR. We got some PIFs. Overall, made him $61,000. Probably more than that. Probably close to 70,000. But it's like literally like for high ticket, like that would have only been 2 to 5 clients. And yeah, the MRR is nice, but churn is real. Churn is typically going to be anywhere from 10 to 30%. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. And high ticket's definitely the move. So I know if we would have ran high ticket with this guy, we would have easily been doing $50,000 months. But nonetheless, that was the first ever offer that we ran. And yeah, so check mark that. Here's the second ever offer. So this one was actually Hood. Okay, this was actually a Hood audience. So before, this guy was literally making no money at all. He was actually, let me pull up the screenshots. Okay, sorry for the edit. Just didn't want to expose this person. And yeah, but essentially, right, they were just trying to sell daily access for $500. Okay, just horrible, right? It's like I just DM'd him one word. He said, okay, bet, pay me $500 for coaching, daily access to me, and you get all my courses. And he hated it, right? He was making no bread at all. And what we realized with his audience is it's a super Hood and unnurtured audience because he didn't even have a YouTube at the time. Oh my goodness, that's a horrible drawing. But nonetheless, right, he didn't even have a YouTube at all, meaning that these leads were just watching, a reel or two, following him, and then you're trying to sell to them. They're very unnurtured, right? They have low trust, low likeness, low knowing. The 3 things you need for someone to buy from you is for them to know, like, and trust you, right? And he didn't have that here. And if you know the 7-11 rule, it's 7 hours of content over 11 touch points, and you're not going to get 7 hours of content from reels, right? Meaning that there's a very few far between, but nonetheless, we still made it work. But definitely, if we had a YouTube with this guy, it would have easily done 50K months, right? But here's the exact funnel we did. So we understood the buyers. A lot of them working like 60 hours a week. They wanted to get out of their jobs. And once again, since he was on Instagram, we just ran the Instagram funnel. So, but it was a little different. We weren't running low ticket anymore. We were running high ticket. And essentially, they would DM us, right? And then we just have a conversation with them following our 5-step framework. So let me go ahead and pull that up. Okay, I pulled that up. So this is our 5-step framework. And this is actually someone who piffed, right, on the offer. So I'm going to show you exactly how it went. So they DM us a keyword, right, inbound. We're like, what's up? Are you already doing car flipping? Or are you looking to get started? So he's looking to get started. So we understand that. So it's like, okay, what do you have going on work-wise right now? What we're trying to do is qualify them. If they don't have a job, then they're probably cooked, right? But if they do have a job, they might be making some money. So we're like, how much are you trying to hit with this? I don't have a goal in mind. So we want to get a number. We were trying to get a number so that way we could actually like frame it in a way to where we could figure out how much they have to invest indirectly. Because if we're not going to figure out how much they have, especially with an unnurtured audience and working as a FedEx, it's just we need to know how much they have to put towards car flipping. Because if they don't have a lot of money, it's not going to work out. Right? So if we don't have a goal, we're going to kind of float. So where do you want to scale? Honestly, if I can make an extra 2K a month. So he was shooting really low. And honestly, something we could have done better here, the DM setter, is like expanding that. Like, why only 2K a month, right? Like, why not more? So he has like 15K that he can spend. So instantly we know that this guy can be qualified. And we don't need a hard qualify in the DMs, because what we need to do with all the prospects is use our sales process to warm them up. If they have the money and they're semi-interested, it's extremely easy to make them want to buy from you, right? It's just the pre-call process that actually takes them from semi-interested and curious to buyer. You're very rarely just going to DM someone and they're going to be instantly ready to buy, right? So we could put you on, talk about the offer. We set him on a call. We send him some resources. And yeah, essentially what these resources did was we had a VSL, okay? And this VSL sold them on a couple different things, okay? So it sold them on the opportunity, our process, and our offer. Because if they believe in the opportunity of this, right? They understand our process and they understand the offer. It's like they're gonna be sold. So what other objections are they really gonna have? The only other objections are just gonna be FAQs. And what we did with these FAQs here was we answered them in emails. So this is something I like to call value dense emails. And essentially what you do, amazing drawing by the way, is you actually do a couple different things. So we have FAQs and we have case studies. Case studies. So essentially what we do is we're gonna be sending them emails before the call. Right, and these emails are going to be text because you get around 40 to 60% open rates, but only like 2 to 5% click-through rates on average, right? So not a lot of people are going to view the assets that you send via email, but they will read the email. So essentially we're just going to have long-form text that's going to handle common objections. How soon can I start making money? What's the risk associated? What are the legal consequences, etc.? Just common questions that they're going to have about the offer before the call, as well as talking about case studies that relate to them. Here's this guy, but he went in debt to start doing this. He went in debt to join the program. Now he's making 8K a month or whatever, right? And essentially what we're trying to do before this call is take these prospects, right, on this continuum from uninterested to ready to buy. And a lot of these people on this continuum here are going to be semi-interested, or they're going to be curious, or they might even be like interested. But we want to try to make these people go from, so they're not really going to be here, because if they were completely uninterested, they just want to book a call. So typically they're going to, I mean sometimes, but rarely, so they're going to be in one of these three categories. And the whole point of this, of our pre-call process, right? The VSL, the emails, the messaging with the team. I have more stuff that we did, but I'm just going to go over this point. Is to take them from semi-interested to all the way to like, okay, I actually am curious to investing into this offer. Because if you're just going to take these people at face value, they're going to stay here, and then you're going to have low show rates and low close rates. If I'm semi-interested in something and kind of interested, not really. I see I have a call for today and I have something else. Like for me, I gotta go pick up my raw milk. You know, it's just gonna be like, I'm not just gonna show up. I'm like, I got some other stuff to do. So we need to give them as much information as possible, and they're gonna consume the information, because you don't really book calls for something unless you're actually semi-interested or curious. No one just booking calls just to book calls. So what we need to do is give them as much information as possible. So after they would book, all this would happen, and at the same time, we'd be making an Instagram group chat, right? So what we did was we make a was we make a group chat with the closer, the prospect, and then the client, right? But really this client was just the DM setter. And essentially what we did was we introduced the closer here, so that way that trust from the client went onto the closer, and now they trusted the closer. And what the closer is doing is messaging the prospect, answering any questions, making sure that they're going to show up to the call, pushing them to assets. Once again, just taking them from that semi-interested or curious to actually, ready to buy, ready to invest. And this had our show rates hit above 80%. And we had about a 30-35% close rate. And the reason why was just because they were unnurtured. YouTube would have tremendously helped. If you have a YouTube, it's so easy to make money. But this had us at an 80% show rate, which is really solid, especially for short form traffic. And also the the closing skill as well probably comes into the closing a little bit. But yeah, and just the audience itself. But 80% show rate from just doing that. And honestly, having the closers call the prospect too, confirm that they're going to show up, having them confirm their email, all typical practices to make people want to show up. And yeah, so overall, they're pretty solid, right? 20K in 10 days with this offer, right? And the scaling, it's very simple. Just doing YouTube, right? Having a YouTube is a little cheat code whenever you're selling info. And he overall went from, selling $500 daily access to selling 3K group coaching. So working less, making way more. And yeah, so that's the second offer. Third one here was finally actually someone on YouTube. They went from making $360 a month to $44,000 in 2 weeks. And you can see why our close rate and our show rate is so high is because they were on YouTube. This was, all on YouTube, as you can see right here, right? And yeah, it's really OP. So I'm going to show you exactly what happened. So before, they were actually posting on Instagram, and they had like 80% third world country. And what they did was they sent everyone to an Iman Gaji VSL. If you don't know what that is here, that is essentially a YouTube video that's really just a VSL. And it just kind of sold them on the process of this guy, which, as you can see, YouTube automation. And it was essentially just talking about their process. They got like 130,000 views on this video before I came in. And they'd have people go from here to book a call. They ended up closing nobody, right? Mainly because there was a lot of Indians, a lot of just unnurtured people, because there's only one YouTube video. And they just decided to take on 6 students at like $60, $67 a month for one-on-one coaching. I was like, yo, you guys are getting scammed right now. Like literally like one-on-one calls, the whole shebang. So we came in, and instantly what we started to do was build up a little bit of wait list and started to post more on YouTube, right? Doubling down on the YouTube. They never got that many views again, because that's 6-figure traffic right there. If you're getting 100,000 views on YouTube, you can easily make 6 figures, right? But we started building up a little bit of wait list, just grab name and email, and they started posting more YouTube videos, pushing people to this list. We would just email them, talking about our one-on-one mentorship, getting people hype, and people were like begging us to open it up. So what we did was, because we could tell we were getting a lot of Indians, we just sent them a little $20 mini course offer, and we got a lot of people to join off that, like literally like 100 people whenever we first dropped it. They probably made like around 6K like lifetime from this $20 course. Right, but nonetheless, a little $20 offer. And from there, we started doing a hype up sequence. So it's a 5-day sequence, and essentially what we do is we start hyping up the mentorship day and everything. We segmented the list. So we had 2 email lists. We had one for just the main normal. Oh my gosh, I'm not a drawer. But we also had one for the buyers, right? The people that bought this $20 offer, because people buy from you, they're going to be willing to buy from you again. As you can see in this next one that I'm about to break down, it makes it way easier to actually sell to people, right? We started hyping it up, and then these people like wanted to join, just because we took these people from unaware all the way to like product aware. Essentially, they were aware of his mentorship and they wanted to join just through our marketing combined with YouTube. It made it OP, because we had YouTube, we had urgency and scarcity. We're constantly talking about it, talking about his journey. And they just related to him super heavily. He really resonated with his audience just because we understood them on a deep level, because he went through the same experience they're going through. So on that day, we sent everyone to a simple VSL application, right? So we had a little headline. We had a VSL. And we had an application, right? And we essentially had people apply. Lots of Indians were applying, like we had so many unqualified people, but we actually did have some qualified people, and it was very simple from there. Essentially what we had dialer dial up the qualified people and book them onto calls if they were qualified, right? If they weren't qualified, just didn't have them come to the call, but if they did, we'd book them on the calendar, and we'd send them to those assets again, like I talked about, right? Which was, the post-call VSL, kind of talking more about the process, value dense emails, the whole shebang. And we didn't really have to make a group chat here, just because it's YouTube leads. They're way more nurtured, way more warm. We had tons of scarcity on the actual calendar, because we framed this as like limited spots, kind of was, kind of wasn't. You know how it goes. And we'd book them on sales calls, and then we'd leverage all of these things to really warm up the prospects, right? Value dense emails, breakout videos, sales assets, the whole shebang, making them watch these before calls, getting them just to binge his YouTube content to answer any questions that they have, which really warmed up leads. And from there, we just booked them on the call, and we were selling a 3K package for essentially the same thing they're doing for $67, but instead we were just selling it for 3K, right? And from there, we just run them through the sales process. If they're a good fit, we'd close them. And it was very simple. Like, it's a very simple funnel. YouTube makes it 10 times easier. If you're posting on YouTube and you're not printing at least 5 figures a month, like, definitely do need help. So if you're not, like, first thing description, you could book a call with me to see how we can help. But yeah, YouTube makes it very simple, very easy, because the people just want to join your stuff. If you have motion on YouTube, that's why Breast Scale Sprint. It's just YouTube makes everything 10 times easier. Okay, that was that. We just closed people, and yeah, we closed around 12, 13 people on this. Don't remember the exact number, but yeah, for a little one-on-one mentorship, right? And then the fourth one of this video, obviously we've done more, but I just wanted to go over our first 4 today. Was this guy, once again, not going to leak him, but he was on YouTube, and essentially he had a low ticket community as well on school, right? And he was making around like 10K a month with it. He had 50% churn though. 50% churn is absolutely crazy. And I could tell, like, after this, like, after running these 2 offers, it was very clear high ticket is actually the method, right? Low ticket, it's just low paying, low quality members, churning. And he wasn't really sure of high ticket at the start, so he started raising prices, right? Ended up getting tons of PIFs on his offer. And eventually what we did was we launched a low ticket to high ticket funnel. So low ticket people are very easy to sell to, right? Because they're already paying you money. They're paying you $50, $100 a month, multiple months in a row. They trust you. Well, in this case, like 2 months, because he had 50% churn. But essentially what we did was we started hyping up a day. We did something called a power offer. Essentially what we did was we talked about this new offer we're coming out with that's one-on-one. Right, I'll go ahead and pull up the full template right now. So this is one we did for an AI guy, and hold up. Okay. Yeah, so this is one we did for an AI guy, so I'm just going to use a live example here. But guys, for the last few months, days, weeks, whatever, I've been working on something exclusive behind the scenes for this community. It's a private group that I've been working on for members who are crushing out daily content tutorials, but ready to take it to the next step. So essentially what you're saying here is, yo guys, I'm making this for you so that way you guys can crush it. You're implementing everything I teach you, but you know, if you want to start like making more money, you want to accelerate it, I'm opening up this program, right? This one-on-one coaching. We go over the 4 steps, 5 steps, 3 steps, whatever that they're going to take, and it's super hands-on, and we talk about the guarantee. We're essentially just telling them the offer, letting them know that we're actually launching something, making them aware, and we're gauging interest, right? So if you're ready to monetize, learn, blah, 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 you know, do this thing, comment, DM me, whatever. So we'd run this power offer here. Let me delete this. And essentially from the power offer, we'd run it to his DMs. And from there, we would DM set them if they were qualified onto calls, right? So essentially you're going to qualify them, make sure that they have enough. And once they are qualified, we're going to book them onto calls. He wanted to take the calls himself, so that's what we did, right? He didn't really trust closers at the time. But yeah, so we booked them onto calls, and it was very simple. Once again, right, we had FAQs, we had VSLs, FAQs, breakout videos, the whole shebang, because it's systemized at this point. And yeah, so essentially after they book, right, they're going to show up. Super high show rates because they're already paying him money and they're booking a call with him personally. So making them show up was extremely easy. And closing itself just because they really trusted him. But still, we had a shorter VSL, 5 to 10 minute one, just going over the process, the offer, a little bit of the opportunity, but they were already sold because they're already paying us. And then just another one, you know, answering FAQs, going over some results, etc., just to make sure that they really show up and they really close. And yeah, I mean, like with them popping on the call to creator already paying us, show rates were extremely high, close rates were extremely high. Not 100%. Some people might have lied. Some people are just afraid to take that leap. Some people don't see the value. But that's essentially what we used to take him from $10,000 a month to him hitting his first $50K month. And from there, he started just focusing just on the high ticket, right? So kind of just like cannibalizing his low ticket, not cannibalizing it, but kind of shutting it down just because he realized that 50% churn is killing his business, right? It's crushing it. If you're having 50% churn, it's not sustainable long term. So ended up kind of shutting that low ticket down and doing the high ticket full time because you need 3, 4, maybe 5 clients max to make 10K a month. Way easier to fulfill on, make more money, get better results, right? So it's kind of a no-brainer. And obviously we've ran up other offers, but these are just kind of 4 I felt like covering today. And yeah, I hope this helped you guys, and peace.